All right, so we have Mike Redding, aka my dad. He's the one who started it all for me in particular. He's been did video stuff for quite a while. So why don't you tell everyone about yourself?
As the boy said, I'm Mike Redding. I went to college. I got a degree in video production and marketing. Worked at half a dozen ad agencies, and then left to start my own company. Did that for 17 years. Got a little burned out of chasing the money, and went to work for the private sector.
Okay. So I know your company was Maverick. What companies did before Maverick? Give me like a 3 company backlog.
What started the whole thing probably was when I was working for a company called Colony, which then morphed into another company and then a third one, which ended up becoming Comcast. Before it became Comcast, so I had moved on to an ad agency in Flint, the largest one there. And I spent seven years there when the people from Comcast got a hold of me and wanted to know if I wanted to do their commercial production, which was the equivalent of 300 ads a year. So I jumped at the opportunity, came back to Lansing, partnered up with 4 other guys to create a company, and that went south in a year and a half. And then I opened up Maverick by itself and moved forward for 17 more years.
Was Maverick, in your opinion, was Maverick successful?
Yes.
Okay.
Like I say, I managed to pay my bills, I managed to pay my employees, and I managed to put out a good product. When it was all said and done, I just gotten burned out of chasing the money, because when you have your own company, I didn't have a good solid sales force. That kind of hurt me. You would go out and get sales and you're busy. And then all that work drops off, and being part of the production group, while we're doing production, I couldn't be out doing sales. So I couldn't do this, it was this. And I got really burned out on it.
Yeah.
So I left to take a job at LCC, which was great. And then I left there to go to work for Michigan Virtual University, which was 4 years, but that was a bad call on my part. It wasn't a good fit.
So something I've noticed, and I'm sure you can agree with, I find that production companies or creative fields in general are very feast or famine. Like you're either so busy you don't have time for anything else, or you struggle to even pay the bills. Did you have that issue with
A
Maverick,
couple of
or
times.
was it more not as drastic as that, but you still kind
Not
of
as drastic, but on the valleys when you're out chasing the work, yeah. So it wasn't like you always had a ton of cash in the bank. It's really rough for image companies, because if you try and start out small, you end up giving a lot of it away, figuratively speaking, because you're trying to make a name for yourself. And then to get big takes capital to support the staff to grow. And then once you are big, as the owner, or in my case, even as the creative director, I would have had to have relinquished something. I would have had to step back for it to grow, and I think that might have been one of my problems. I didn't want to release some stuff, because then I felt like, oh, well, it's not me anymore.
So as far as as starting a business, as small businesses go, do you think it requires a lot of capital, period, or do you think you can start small with almost nothing, or does your case, the production company, is that different than, say, I don't know, a house painting or like a bike shop or
Well,
something else?
that would if I had come back to Lansing and tried to do this without having the work from Comcast cable, I would have never pulled it off, because they basically guaranteed me work for 3 years. And trust me, I ate it up. But like doing house paint or anything, you have all your basic tools that you need to do your job. And this, as an example, you need a camera, you need some lights, you need some microphones. That's pretty much, and a tripod. That's pretty much it. And then you need experience. If you, in this case, the way you have it set up is nice, but if you had more capital, then you could have had, $5,000 cameras, figuratively speaking. And so capital buys you the cool looking stuff, but you still have to know how to do it. And then you have to still be able to put out a product that, even as a house painter, if you go paint somebody's house, if they're impressed with it, they're going to tell people. Same thing with this. You just have to develop that rhythm. Did that answer your question?
Yeah, it kind of leads me into, so in the world of like the internet, which we live in the greatest time in history as far as reach and access, do you think that traditional marketing, and when I say traditional, I even mean like internet marketing and Facebook ads and that, so when I say traditional, I mean pretty much all advertising, do you think that's still more important, or do you think it's less important than, say, word of mouth and referrals? With referrals, you have a more, like, I would say, like, steady like ad, but you don't have as big a reach.
Right. And let me address all that. The internet, while it is the greatest thing every generation alive is, well, that's not true, because the people who saw a plane for the first time, that was the greatest thing that they'd ever seen. So it can't compare. But as far as traditional, which I'm going to assume you mean to be print, TV, and radio, versus today, which is LinkedIn, Google, Facebook, Yahoo, and sidebar advertising, and mining data information to reach out to your clients. It's a lot easier now. Before, if you did, because now you can do an ad geared to, let's say, women between the ages of 18 and 35. And you can reach out to them on their social media. You don't have to pay for postage. They basically give you the information that you need, and you just have to know how to harvest it. Before, if you wanted to reach females, you had to get into a magazine that reached everybody. And there could have been a dozen different local magazines, so you didn't know exactly which one was going to work. As far as effectiveness, I think what used to be print marketing and advertising has gone to the web, the internet, whether that be Google, Yahoo, whatever any of the other ones are. But it's gone to there for you to do your advertising. And you can buy your advertising right on the spot. Anyone can do it. When I first got into this business, you couldn't just walk into a newspaper and say, I want to buy some advertising. It didn't work that way. Oh, and here's my ad. It definitely didn't work that way. Nowadays you can do it. So TV advertising has been replaced. It can't be replaced totally, because there's still TV locally that's still free. But as that changes, as whoever or whatever your market is, because the younger generation, and I don't want to say millennials, but younger than myself, the generation that came of age during the internet or the web, they don't interact with TV like my generation and maybe the generation after me, or definitely the generation before me did. That was our entertainment. That's where we got our news. That's where we got what we knew was going to be in the movie theater, what was going to be on TV, what was being advertised for Black Friday, and so forth. Radio's the same way. And I have seen, or I believe that because you can do marketing, Facebook has taken all that away from, hasn't taken it away, has allowed anybody to do it now. Google's a little different, same premise. You can buy space. So instead of doing traditional TV and radio, it has now been replaced by what your audience is on. If your audience is my age, you're going to advertise on TV. And I'm sorry I bumped that. If your audience is your sister, you're going to advertise on Facebook or LinkedIn or one of those, which is something that she goes to more than I would go to. Mm-hmm. So I don't think it's changed. I think it has evolved. It's the same principle. Back in the day when it first started, when it was print, people go, oh, and then they came up with other ways of doing it. Oh, this is going to kill the newspaper. Well, it didn't. Magazines didn't kill it. TV killed the movie theater for advertisements. Used to be you could go there and there were ads that you would see on your TV were on the movie screen. Those are gone. Radio has been replaced from 60-second ads that had time to tell a story, introduce a product, tell you about that product. Now they're 10 to 15-second sound bites. Don't tell you anything about it. Just, here it is, come and get it. Mm-hmm. So I think there's a change. So in your case, is it profitable to go into the video production? It is, but not for advertising. Not in my opinion. If I was to enter back into this field, it would be corporate. Mm-hmm. Because corporate needs to reach out to their employees, and they have the same problem that everybody else does. They have an older workforce that handles pictures and a brochure and a quarterly report. They have that middle and younger generation that goes, just send me a PDF, send me a link, I'll look at it online, that kind of stuff. Mm-hmm. So they still need somebody in their marketing communications departments that can do this kind of stuff to help present a message. Or if you don't work for a corporation, if you don't work for the private sector, then you have to work for yourself, and then you have to get to the point where you are doing that. And there's a lot of different work out there to find to be able to do that. It's just slow going. And you're always going to run up against somebody who has been there longer, but the longer they've been there, the more expensive they are. And that's the chicken or the egg. If you have a big staff, you have to charge a lot more money. Mm-hmm. Does that mean your product is any better or any worse than somebody who is a 2-3-man crew? No, because it's all on the prep side. If you're prepped, as long as a disaster doesn't hit while you're doing your project, you should be golden. Mm-hmm. So, did that answer your question?
Yeah. Do you think there's more noise today than there was 30 years ago?
Oh, definitely.
So,
and let me.
But I don't mean just noise. So noise in general, I would agree there's more noise. But I guess I mean like in the ad space.
There's more interruptions.
So like when you were doing advertising, 30 years ago, you ran TV spots, and there were hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of TV spots. And there are still as many today, but I am curious if there is there a correlation between how much noise there is now relative to how much noise there was then? Was it as stressful to create and get attention now, even though we have a lot more outlets as there was then when there was like 3 major outlets?
Yes, it is harder, because when I was doing commercial work, there was most of the ads were strictly if you had cable. Some of them crossed over into ABC, NBC, CBS, but a majority of them were ESPN, MTV, the Shopping Network, the Discovery Channel, the History Channel, anything that was on cable. And again, there you had a market. So if you went ESPN, you knew you were reaching males. Some cooking show, females. So you at least had some kind of demographics. So is there more noise now? I don't think there's more noise. I think there's more interruptions / choices. And when I say interruptions, choices, say you're watching something on TV and a commercial comes up and you go, well, I don't want to watch this. So you switch to another channel. I'll use the ESPN as an example. So there's something that and there's a commercial, you don't want to watch it. Well, I'll just go to ESPN2 or ESPN3 or ESPNU or Fox, not Fox, but it's out of Detroit. That's Fox Sports, but I'm thinking of another one. Or the Big Ten Network. But you can actually avoid commercials. Mm-hmm. So it is much harder to reach out and grab somebody with conventional ways because they're not trapped. Before they were trapped. And even now, if you record something, you can zip past the commercials. So I think that's why online advertising is a little bit more successful. You can reach out to that same male and you'll get other males, maybe even a female or two in your reach parameters. Whereas in the conventional cable / media, they would just get rid of you. They would just go somewhere else. So, and I know that they have talked about time slip being a problem now, but on conventional entertainment, yes. On the internet, not so much. That's why it's a beast. It's going to take forever before something new changes. I mean, before we get something new. There's a lot of money in it, and that's why traditional media companies own a lot of companies that do stuff on the web, other than Google. I mean, look at Disney. Look at all the digital stuff it owns. Mm-hmm. It's got cable channels. It's got TV channels. It's got press channels. It's got everything. Disney just buys until it feels it has control. It does not sit down and bargain with you. It just comes in and buys you. Mm-hmm. Because, hey, you're making money. We can make more money with you, so we'll just buy you. End of the story. So, and you're going to see more and more of that. We're already seeing it where, the true social media, in my eyes, I could be wrong, is Facebook is the leader far and away. And then whatever your major search engine is, it seems to be Google right now. And that could change. We've seen that kind of stuff change, but the premise of it won't. So I think as far as noise, there's a lot more noise, but I think a lot of that is there's a lot more selection.
So there's more choice.
Interrupt. There's more choice, but it's also more interruptions.
Okay.
Okay.
That all sounds good. All right, well, thank you for sitting down with me. That was awesome.
You're welcome.
And we will see you next time.